Ankush, I'm very excited to be talking to you. And one of the things that has got my attention and why we are having this conversation is like you meet, and in the Indian startup ecosystem, people are building apps and different amazing technologies in the consumer space. But you have chosen to use technology, to use productization to go to a very, very different market, a very different segment. And you had so many choices, but you chose this. So tell us about Avail Finance and tell us what's the purpose behind what you've started.
I think fundamentally when we started the company, when me and Tushar, who's the co-founder and CTO, when we started the company, we were always clear on what we wanted to, who we wanted to build for. It was always the blue-collar, low-income group segment that we wanted to work for, right? For the next billion people, the vernacular segment that we wanted to build custom-made products and services for. And we realized that at that point of time, financial services was a big, big space. How people like cooks, drivers, office boys, people who earn around 25,000 rupees a month or even less than that number would probably have no liquid savings or cash reserves with them. Whenever they need access to capital, which could be multiple times in a year, they have nowhere to turn to, right? And the current solution for them is extremely unorganized, ad hoc. It could be local money lenders, loan sharks, or it could be chit funds, or it could be salary advances. And we realized this is a massive, massive problem statement, right? And we want to be an institute or someone who comes in and helps them out in these situations, right? And that's where the idea of Avail was honestly born from. And this is a problem statement that we, as a country, have grown up with.
Yeah.
Right? That you would have a domestic helps coming and asking for a salary advance.
Yes.
And it happens very frequently. So we tried to address the problem for a very consumer-centric behavior about why they have these problems constantly in their lives and how can it be addressed at scale. And that is what we want Avail to be. We're obviously starting off with lending and credit, but we see Avail to be much, much bigger than just a credit-based platform.
Did you do an extensive research study to start and to start this, and also in terms of competition in the market, in terms of the scalability, what were some of the thoughts that you actually, because you are a product guy and I know the kind of education and background you have, I'm sure you would have systematically thought, or was it just a gut thing that okay, this is unserved market, let's go to it? How did you?
Actually, the inception of Avail actually was in 2014. Just to give you a brief background about myself, I was brought up in Ludhiana, Punjab, where I was there until my 10th standard, typical middle class family. The same issues that I've talked about, we used to have constantly at our place. You would have your driver and your cook coming and asking for salary advance. Then I moved to Singapore for 2 years. Then I moved to US, and while I was studying in the US, I took a semester off and I interned in Ola. And there I actually started the Ola Auto platform. And that was my first ever experience on a day-to-day basis with the blue-collar workforce, the auto drivers, right? And the major pain point what I saw from the driver community was definitely access to capital was a big, big bottleneck, right? That they didn't own their autos, that they always looked, that they rented autos on a day-to-day basis. So, and because of that, they were stuck in that economic ladder. That was the first ever insight I had into this customer segment.
Yeah.
And once I finished my undergrad, came back to India, that was the first thing that attracted me. It was that this is a problem that needs to be solved, that should be solved. Access to financial services should be a human right. You should not discriminate based on what your salary is, what your gender is, and you should cater to people irrespective of these nuances.
Yeah.
And that's honestly where we're coming from, and that's what we want to do.
How are you serving the segment, and what are you doing? What are the different products you have? How are you going about executing?
So we started Avail in 2017. Me and Tushar started working on it in Feb, but started operations, hardcore operations in August of 2017. So it's been 2 years. We started off with a credit-based approach. We currently have 2 products that we offer to the customer. One is a personal loan of roughly a short-term personal loan of around 20,000 rupees for 5 months. That's the average ticket size and the average tenure. And the person pays us back in EMIs fit for the product. The other product which we started very recently was an even smaller loan, a working capital requirement, so you might call it, which is a 5,000 rupee amount for the borrower, and it's for 1 month. Now the interesting thing about this product is that it's free of cost. there is no interest rate or processing fee attached to it whatsoever. Instead, the borrower can leave a tip if they like the service.
Amazing. Yeah.
Right? So it's basically what we're telling the customer. The reason this product even came about was everyone that we've spoken to has a need for month-end expenses for multiple reasons. Their salary could get exhausted before the next payday, or the next payday itself is variable.
Yeah.
It could be, you might get the salary on the 1st of month, or you might get the salary on the 5th of that month.
Yeah.
So for those 5 days, they need that extra amount of cash.
Yeah.
That's where the working capital loan that we have, the 5,000 rupee loan, helps them out. And the current solution for them is friends and family.
Yeah.
And no friend or family member asks another friend for interest. And we basically thought it won't be justified if we start pricing it at a very high level, which is what you would see. We said if we need to cater to this segment in a scalable way, it needs to be a product which is offers them a solution which is better than the current solution. And to build that, we said that we have to make it free of cost, but as a business, we still need to generate revenue.
Yeah.
We said we'll have a tip culture.
Yeah.
And very, very insightful data points that we generated from majority of the people leave a tip. And the segment that we're talking about is still the blue-collar employee. So what we're basically fundamentally saying is we are your friend in need. So that's on the credit model, on the credit products that we have, 2 products. But going forward, we don't see Avail as just a pure play lender anymore. Instead, we see Avail as the bank in this person's pocket, right? We want to be the platform where a blue-collar employee comes and lives his financial life on. That's the vision that we have of Avail. For whatever need that this person might have, be it credit-based needs, be it micro savings, insurance, we want Avail to be the platform that helps them. Yeah.
Now, I just want to understand, like, while you're doing this business, how has this segment been? Does it live up to its reputation that, you know, you're giving money to this segment and it will not come back, and you know, like the returns will not be there? How? Because you are thinking large, you're thinking platform. So tell us more about this segment.
Sure. So on the first part of what you brought up was the segment big enough. So obviously it's a very massive segment, right? Something which has been underpenetrated in the past.
Yes.
There would be close to 40 million organized blue-collar workforce, educated blue-collar employees in the urban areas. Then there would be another 100 million in urban but unorganized, people who would be in the, let's say, boutique restaurants or the pawn shops or something like that. Then you would have another 120 odd million people who would be rural landowners, who would probably move to an urban town in the coming future. So the segment is massive, but obviously the business model that has to be built is very different than what you would have for the top 30 million people in the country. People like most people in this room that would have it. So the segment is there, it's present, and it needs to be tapped. In terms of
is it hard segment as an entrepreneur? I'm asking, as you're looking at scaling.
There are various challenges which come with every business model, right? The biggest challenge that we have is the challenge of scale. We need to design for scale. You can't cater to only 1 million a business can be built for 1 million customers, high ticket size business. But for us, the business needs to be built for 50 million people. Right? That's how we think about the business. And for that, you need a very, very strong tech layer underneath that, right? And I believe that you have a great tech team to actually build that up. But be in terms of some insights on the customer segment, how has the customer segment behaved for us? What the basic understanding is that people, financial literacy part, right, which is more or less true. Less than 25% of India itself is financially literate. I mean, how do they understand what CIBIL means? Do they understand what's the benefit of a savings account, insurance? We actually take it upon ourselves to educate our customers on the importance of a credit score, of the underwriting process. Why do we need documents to approve a loan, right? That is something that we take upon ourselves, and we do that. And that also actually helps in alleviating some of the risk. In terms of some of the products that we've released, which could be the 2 personal loans that we have, we have seen the repayment rates to be significantly high.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, and the repeat rates to also be on the higher end. Just to give you a context on some of the metrics that we track internally about the customer segment. So we have very, very, 2 things that we pride ourselves on is we are very customer focused and data obsessed. The two major metrics for us would be, do people love the product and are they referring the product, right? And the secondary metrics would be how are the repayment rates and stuff like that. But in terms of the adoption rate, in terms of people, the people reapplying for the product, almost everyone in a customer reapplies within the first 1 month itself. So that's the kind of product market fit that we have.
Yeah.
And that's what people think the value that Avail adds into their life.
Yeah.
And yeah, currently the repayment rates are close to 100%, I would say.
If you could tell us about this segment that you're operating in, because you've chosen a very, and I can repeat again and again, a very difficult as an entrepreneur segment, extremely fragmented, but nobody wants to operate in this segment, right?
Yeah.
Because it's easier to build a software. It's for an urban paying customers, right?
Yeah.
So tell us about the segment. We'd love to understand more in the space that you're operating.
We as a company are very, very customer obsessed.
Yeah.
I like to think that. One thing that we do is spend a lot of time with our customers, try to understand the pulse of what they go through on a day-to-day level, and we build anything that we do is very, very focused on what the needs and the demands are. Some of the insights that we've generated and what we have learned about the segment are actually extremely new to me that I did not know before, before I started working in started Avail. For example, we know that money is at the core of a blue-collar employee's life, right? Any decision that they make would be driven by predominantly a financial objective, be it medical, be it professional. It is driven by a financial objective, because the agenda is to optimize cash flows. Then we try to understand why is that such an important objective for them. Whereas, let's say if a white-collar employee is looking out for a job, they look at 10 other things. What are the benefits like? Who are you reporting to? What's the company's vision? Fundraise status kya hai?
Yeah.
All of these things come into the picture.
Yeah.
But a delivery executive or logistics employee does not think about these high-level things.
Yeah.
End objective is हाथ में पैसा कितना मिल रहा है, right? And so we try to understand why is that the case. And what we unearthed over there was a few interesting points over there. That one, there is no habit of saving, right? It's a very hand-to-mouth segment that we are dealing with. What they earn in the month is what they spend in the month.
Yeah.
What they might save, it gets utilized in the coming month itself, whatever needs that they might have. In fact, if you talk to households, you might be giving bonuses every Diwali, right? But your maid would probably come and tell you, you keep it, I'll ask you when I need it. Because if you give it to me today, I'll spend it today.
Yeah.
So there is no savings infrastructure right now available for this segment. That combined with the fact that there are constant income fluctuations and expenditure shocks mean that the cash flows are very, very uneven.
Yeah.
Now, income can fluctuate because of a variety of reasons, right? It could be, let's say, a high dependence on variable pay. Literally, the gig economy is a perfect example for this. What you earn today is different than what you earn tomorrow, and you might not have any control over it. Gig economy could mean some of these food delivery companies or logistics companies or the ride-hailing industry. And it's a very variable income that you generate. Or, in fact, it's not just a gig economy. If you talk about retail as a segment, almost 30-35% of the salary, even though they're fixed, is dependent on variable pay. So even though it's a monthly salary, right, you don't know how much you're going to get the next month. But at the same time, income could also vary because you don't have an income generating source for that particular day itself. The day that delivery executive does not work on that company is the day it does not get paid.
Yeah.
But even in the fixed income group segment, the number of paid leaves that you get in a month are very minimal. It could be 0 or 2. White collar employee, you might get 2 days a leave a month. But for a blue collar employee, it might be 0 leaves a month.
You know, when Ankush, you told me about this, I was so shocked because I thought I'm very aware, but that the guard in my own office, you asked me, and I went and talked to him and realized that, he doesn't get enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes the salary might not come on the same day,
Yeah.
right? Because of which they need that extra amount of cash
They
in
get
hand.
it on the 10th of the month and all
Yeah.
that.
Normally, when you ask people, they will say, "Is din tak aa jati hai?"
Why?
That's how it's treated. If consider that happening into a slightly more organized segment, if your employee says, "मुझे salary दिन तक मिल जाती है," that's not the correct approach.
Yeah, we'll think
right?
about an unprofessional company.
Yeah, and these are some of the insights that we generate. That's on the income side. On the expenditure side, again, it can be planned or unplanned. We know more about the expense side. That's what we've been focused towards as a society. It can be, let's say, an unforeseen expense such as medical expenditure, or it can be a plan or an asset creation, something like a loan for an educational expense for your kid, or for marriage in the family, or if you want to buy a consumer durable. Right? So these are two kind of expenses that you might have. But it happens so frequently for a blue collar employee, and there are no savings.
Yeah.
It just all adds into the. It's very hard to deal with, right? And that's what we want Avail to basically do for them. We want to be the platform that helps them smoothen their financial life.
You want to be available for them.
Yeah.
You've raised money and you've taken external venture capital money. How are you thinking of scale? Like, and I'm just now talking from a purely for-profit business model, because the intent and the purpose is so giving and it's serving a great segment. But how are you looking at scale? How are you looking at building it large, making it large, and,
So the first thing
stuff like that?
Yeah. We don't think of Avail as a lending institute. We think of Avail as a financial platform to assist a person in the financial life, similar to how a bank looks at it, right? As I said before, we want to be the bank in this person's pocket. So that's one part which is critical, and it's a scale business. You need to. It's not a. You're not targeting the 30 million cream of the country. Instead, you're targeting the next 200 million people.
Yeah.
Right. It's a high volume, low ticket size model that we're running, and I mean businesses have been built for the segment before. FMCG, perfect example of that.
Yeah.
About how they have sachetized multiple products, and that's actually very important because the segment is unique in how they earn and how they spend.
Yeah.
That customization is required, and that's how you build businesses for this segment. You make custom solutions for every segment specifically. Toothpaste, biscuits, all of these are sold in sachets. Even if you talk about professional services now, the gig economy is sachetizing your job.
Yeah.
The prepaid cards that came, they're sachetizing your telco. The telco industry is sachetizing their product. That is what we need to do, and that is how we see it going forward. So again, to reiterate some of these things, no longer a pure play lending company, but a wide variety of products on our platform.
So tell me how you're using technology and because you are a tech guy, you are a products guy, how are you building that scale to serve this customer? Just tell us about that.
My background is in tech, but Tushar is a CTO who leads tech for us, and what we have decided is it's a tech first company, right? We don't think of tech as an underlying enabler only. Instead, we want to use tech in a way that enables the possibility of doing a business in the segment either way, right? Just to give you an example of something that we have done, which, as you've iterated, why banks would not have entered this segment, is the collection infra that we have built. People in the blue collar segment they earn wages on a very odd frequency. It could be daily, it could be weekly, it could be fortnightly, it could be monthly. But if you look at how EMIs are collected, it's monthly.
Yeah.
So that breaks when the income frequency is not monthly. One of the biggest things that we've done from a tech perspective until now is we've built the collection infra and customized it for the segment. So we collect daily, weekly, fortnightly, monthly, whatsoever, depending on what the customer's needs are. And that is how we leverage tech. And that's one part. Then you could have a lot of other verticals where tech could be highly leveraged, right? It could be the data sciences, the risk, understanding the customer at a much more deeper, meaningful level. Can we bring an offline understanding of risk online through tech? And that is what we see going forward. From
a data perspective, I just wanted to understand is what kind of data do you collect of your customer, and do you have sufficient data to begin with?
I think that the best answer to that would be something that Mr. Nandan had said recently, that India would be data rich very soon, right? And which is true. There's a smartphone in the hand of every single individual in the country right now, and even in the blue collar segment, which would not have been tech savvy 3 years ago, 4 years ago, but because of the advent of Geo, very low cost smartphones available, everyone has access to smartphones and people are on WhatsApp, YouTube throughout. So, so in terms of how we collect data, which is very important for us to understand the customer, there are multiple data channels for us. One data source which is definitely missing, which is the reason why this segment has been neglected, is the credit history. How do you counter the absence of a CIBIL score or the absence of any formal credit history and still decide, should I give a loan to this person or not? That's where a lot of the alternate data points come into picture of the customer. One of the biggest channels for us would be professional history. How long has the person been working with the employer for? How stable is he in terms of his personal life, professional life? Does he have fixed point of contacts in his life who he talks to every single day? Basically trying to bring the offline behavior of judging someone offline and bringing them.
So you have like a full tech product to do that?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it could be, financial data is something that we collect. That could be a CIBIL score, it could be a bank statement or whatever. But other data points could mean his professional history that we collect directly from the employer itself. Or it could be what we asked him to fill on the app, right? Or it could be the permission that he gives us on the app to collect data from the phone. All of these we use and it goes into underwriting engine and we decide, do we want to lend to the customer or not?
Lot of young energy. Tell us about the team. How have you attracted different talent to something like this?
Basic fundamental in building the team is everyone needs to buy into the vision. That we are a company which wants to solve problems for this customer segment. And everyone is bought into the vision. I've been very lucky with the team that we have in place right now. We obviously want to get more people involved into the team.
But you also have strong vision, no?
Yeah, yeah. So the scale of the problem is so massive that it itself becomes a very, very easy problem to relate to. And something, as I said before, people have you've grown up with, right? And when when we want to say that we want to solve this problem, and this is what our structure is, people buy into that. So we've been very lucky with the kind of people that we have. And we have people from diverse backgrounds, people who have worked in underwriting before for multiple years. It could be people who have worked in startups and scaled those startups before. So very lucky in terms of the people that we are working with, and very lucky, privileged in fact, with the kind of investors that we have on board who have helped build the team up as well.
This is such a unique, different and powerful business that you're building. How are you getting the team together? How are you building the culture? How are you, these are, so to say, early days, right? How are you thinking with the team?
The first person and the most important person that we have got is Tushar, obviously, right? He's the co-founder and CTO. And when I came back to India, he was one of the first people that I spoke to, introduced by a mutual friend. He's from IT Roorkee, worked in Adobe for a couple of years. And then we met. This was even before we had the concept of Avail in hand. And then we brainstormed together. This is what we see the future of financial services in India could be. And can we enable that? And that's where I think it struck a chord with both of us. And that's when we thought that it makes perfect sense and no-brainer for us to start our journey over here. Basically build the team from there. We were just two people sitting in one room back in Feb of 2017, and then we've scaled to around 150 people today.
150 people today.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we have built a strong team, a good core team with something that we always what we want people to buy into is the overall vision of the company. Right? That we are solving a problem which has existed for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Lending credit is one of the oldest businesses in the world, oldest industries in the world. Still, the segment is neglected. So that is the scale of the problem that we are solving for, right? And it's very important for people to understand that why is it that it's such a massive problem and why it can be solved for. And we've gotten people from various diverse backgrounds to come and be a part of the journey, from various other NBFCs, lending institutes, or people who have helped scale other startups up. But we as a culture in the company always want to promote a culture of being customer first, always thinking about anything that we do as a company should come from a customer and not ourselves. It needs to be driven from the customer insights, and we are very data obsessed. So these are two things that we have kept very intact as we have scaled the team up.
Most of the people who would be working with you in Avail would not come from this segment, no? So I think that would be a classical challenge, right? Like, because they are serving a customer base segment which they don't come from. So what are you doing to ensure that there is more understanding as you scale among everyone in the team?
One of the things that we do as a company is we have what's called customer first calls. Everyone needs to spend a certain amount of time talking to customers through various steps in their journey with Avail or outside of Avail, be it understanding how what their current situation is like in terms of how they what they earn, how they earn, how they spend money, or be it what we can do in our product and services which can assist them in their journey. So be it at the time of onboarding, be it in times of sale, be it in times of the underwriting process or collections, everyone spends time with the customer.
Amazing.
That is something that it's a very top-down approach. Everyone in the company has to do it.
Ankush, now I want to ask you, what's the big, like you said, you want to be the bank for the blue-collar workforce. Next 18 to 24 months, what's the big milestone?
So one thing that we are working very aggressively towards is diversifying our product portfolio in terms of not just looking at lending as one particular product, but looking at being the go-to platform for a blue-collar or a low-income group employee who can come to Avail for various needs that he might have, be it savings, be it loans, different types of credit products, or be it micro insurance, micro investment products. That is something which we are aggressively working towards over the coming 24 months. In addition to that, as I said before, this is we want to build for scale. So we need to get that scale, opening up new markets, opening up new geographies, new customer segments, and acquiring, focusing on acquisition from various other channels. And yeah, so these two things would be our key focus areas over the coming months.
So I just see that, if I WhatsApp you, then you do respond very late at night or early in the morning. So are you working all the time? How are you what has got you from 2 people within a year and a half to 150 people, this kind of scale and this kind of drive? What kind of life are you leading as an entrepreneur?
On the first part.
Yeah.
About responding late at night. This is something that I don't think you need to be an entrepreneur to do that. If you buy into what you're doing and the vision of what you are doing and the problem that you're solving, I think that comes organically.
Yeah.
If you love doing what you do, that'll come organically.
So you're in the flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is not just me. I believe this is everyone at Avail. There is work-life integration, right?
So you have work-life integration?
Yeah, and you need to. Second part, the problem that we picked up is not a
Easy one.
It's not an easy one, right? So you need to commit to it fully. And that is what we do at Avail. It's not just me, but throughout the organization, that's another thing that we have internally built into the company. And we want that to be replicated in the workplace that we also have. Make it very friendly, make it a comfortable place for everyone to come and work. And that's the reason that we have Penny also.
Yeah.
Who supports us 24 hours a day.
I'll tell you 2-3 words and tell me, what does that mean for you? What does money mean for you?
The first thing would be accessibility to money should be a right and should not be discriminated against. I'm talking about access to credit for our customer segment, right? That is what is most important for me as a founder and as an entrepreneur right now, and as Avail.
And what is dream for you?
To be the go-to solution for the blue-collar employee to come for his any financial needs and transactions that he might have.
And I want to pick on the thing that you said, work-life integration, because I have none of those. So for all of us and people like me, how do you have work-life integration?
I think that just comes organically, I believe. You can't plan for it. I can ask you the same question for you also, being a founder, but I think that's something that can come organically. You don't need to specifically plan for it, but it also depends on the people that you are working with, definitely. And as I said, lucky to have, and yeah, that's what is going well so far.
So Ankush, one of the very burning topics right now these days, is the whole conversation around, there's so much of stress, and especially young people like you building such fast-paced, high-growth startups, right? And you've scaled so fast, and you are chasing such big ambitions and dreams. How do you find balance, and how do you find that anchoring, and how do you find, if I may say so, a flow to this whole mad rush that we are as entrepreneurs and as businesses and startups going through?
That's actually a great question, because we at Avail do a lot of things, and it comes from everyone, because you're being a very high growth company at an early stage.
Yeah.
Work is the priority,
Yeah.
but you still need to balance both the worlds, right? And we do that. We've taken certain steps at Avail to ensure that is being done for everyone throughout. As an example, we try to keep a very open office space.
I can see that.
Yeah, keep it green. Every table might have a money plant or something else that comes with it, or we have an office pet that you might have seen walking around. Penny helps cheer people up, because when it comes to output, we have to burn the midnight oil as well. But also want to make sure that people enjoy and keep doing that on a week on week, day on day basis, because we're in it for the long run. And or be it things like having an offsite in Kurk last month, where you get best of both worlds. You get the best of nature, and you are able to have a strategic meeting as well with the entire leadership team. Or having cricket tournaments or whoever. So we do everything together as a company, and something that we do address on a weekly level, in fact. So something that we have been cognizant of is we need to have certain periodic activities to help de-stress.
Wow.
Right? And we do that throughout the organization, irrespective of hierarchy, irrespective of horizontal, and it's a very inclusive environment that we try to create.
So I wanted to conclude is that if I say Avail Finance, what comes to your mind when you hear your own company's name?
The first thing is the Avail Finance of tomorrow would be different from the Avail Finance of today. It will be a lot more horizontal in terms of being the bank in your pocket. A variety of products and services, whatever you might need as a low-income group owner. You can come to Avail with any need, and we will have the solution for you. And we want to do this at scale. We want to build a financial umbrella for 1 billion Indians.
Financial umbrella for 1 billion people.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. All the very best.
Thank you.
And hopefully we will meet again in 12 months' time, and we will see how many more millions have you reached out to. Thank you. Thanks
Perfect.
so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
आप कहाँ से हैं?
बिहार से।
भाई बिहार में कहाँ से?
सुपौल जिला से।
मैं भी पटना जिला से। So बताइए, आप यहाँ पे अवेल फाइनेंस से आपने लोन लिया है?
हाँ, लोन लिए थे।
कितना लिए थे?
20,000।
20,000 लिए थे। और कैसा रहा प्रोसेस लोन लेने का?
लोन लेने में फर्स्ट टाइम थोड़ा डॉक्यूमेंट्स में प्रॉब्लम हुआ। उसके बाद और अच्छा लोन 2% में अच्छा मिल गया।
और उससे पहले अवेल फाइनेंस से पहले कैसे लेते थे लोन?
नहीं, गाँव में लेते थे, वहाँ पे कुछ जमीन कागजात कुछ सोना वोना देना पड़ता था।
देता था? ओह माय गॉड। हाँ,
वैसे लोन गाँव में मिलता था।
अब इंटरेस्ट रेट भी काफ़ी हाई होता था।
हाँ, इंटरेस्ट भी वहाँ पे ज़्यादा होता था, यहाँ पे कुछ कम है।
तो कब लिए थे लोन?
अभी 4 मंथ हो गया, मैं फुल पे कर दिया हूँ, अभी फिर 40,000 अप्लाई किया हूँ।
अरे वाह, अमेजिंग अमेजिंग। और अभी अब गांव से अभी किसी से और से लोन लेने का ज़रूरत नहीं है?
नहीं, अभी लोन गाँव से लेने की ज़रूरत नहीं, मैं इधर अप्लाई कर दिया हूँ, गाँव में नहीं चाहिए मुझे।
अवेल फाइनेंस
से अप्लाई किया हूँ।
Why did you need the loan?
लोन
क्यों थी?
मैं गाँव में खेती के लिए मुझे कुछ पैसा चाहिए, इसके लिए
हाँ,
लोन चाहिए। क्यों, खेती में 3 मंथ के बाद होता है पैसा।
हाँ।
एक टाइम खेती फसल कटने के बाद होता है, अभी इसके लिए चाहिए फर्स्ट टाइम के लिए।
तो अब वहाँ पे खेती भी करना है?
खेती भी होता है वहाँ पे।
वाह, वेरी गुड। तो गुड, नाउ यू हैव अवेल फाइनेंस।
अच्छा है।
अच्छा है पक्का? क्योंकि ये बॉस बैठा है तो इसलिए बोल रहे हैं या सही में?
नहीं
अच्छा
नहीं,
है?
वैसे अच्छा है।
अच्छा है,
अच्छा
पक्का
है।
ना?
पक्का।
Thanks Ankush for introducing me to Sohail. Sohail, very nice to meet you. And Ankush was telling about the all the great work that you're doing over here. So if you can tell us, Avail Finance, how you have personally benefited.
Avail Finance, as I joined here, then I got to know we are funding loan for blue collar jobs, everything. Then even I tried once from my side because I needed loan. So why to ask with family members, why to ask with friends? Better it will be up personally for me, so that I can directly take loan and it will be very personally towards me. I can make the payment to whenever I get this salary, and I can make the payment. So no need to ask with any friend, any family members. It made easy to me to utilize that money from Avail Finance. And last month also I took loan because day before yesterday was a festival, so I thought why to ask with anyone directly. We can take loan from Avail Finance, so that however I'm working in the same company, so they help me, and it is a very easy process. Just to fill few documents that always we carry. One selfie will be there, and PAN card, Aadhaar card, the two mandatory things. Just upload that, and it is easy to avail that option also, and we can get the loan within 24 hours to 48 hours.
Amazing. This is
So
so.
he's one of our most our loyal customers.
What role are you in?
Actually, I'm doing onboarding as quality.
And when did you join here?
April 1st.
Or Avail Finance se pehle, was there any option when you had to look for money? How were you getting
No,
money?
I used to ask with friends, colleagues. I mean, sometimes
हाँ,
we
वही,
used to ask, but it will feel guilty to ask them. If sometimes they are ready, if they have, they're ready to give. If not, it will be not nice to ask. So, Avail Finance, no need to feel shy, anything. Just we have to take, and we can return back on the time. And it
Amazing.
increased our civil score or loan eligibilities, everything. It helps to increase the eligibilities of loan, so that in a future we can take a bigger loan. It will be benefited for us.
And I'm sure very soon your friends will also become our
Yeah,
customers.
sure. I used to tell my friends, if you want any emergency loan, any health issues, anything, just you can log into the Avail app, so that it will be easy to take loan. No need to go and ask with any friends and family members.